Okay, I want to show you how to go about making tube socks. They are not a preference for me, but they are a good starting point for those who are struggling with the short row heels and any of the fancier stuff. So if you want to do a starting out sock, this is the way to go. And particularly if you want to start getting a guide on how to do your formulas and everything. So what I am using on this project is 2 strands of Elise stretch sock yarn, and you'll probably would want to use a stretch sock yarn for tube socks, because I find on average they because you don't have that clean heel and toe, they're probably not gonna want to stay up as much as you'd like. You use the stretch stuff, that ankle where you do the rib stitch is gonna really stay on the leg better. Okay, so let's get started. So what you need to keep in mind is you're going to need to measure the ball of your foot with all your weight on it, and then you're going to need to measure from mid ankle. See if I can get this to focus. Here. Mid ankle to mid calf if you want to do a crew sock. And then you want to measure on the middle back of the heel all the way to the tip of the toe, and that is your length. Okay. Now you need to know your stitches per inch times your ball equals your number of pegs. Your rows per inch times your cuff measurement equals number A. Your rows per inch times your length equals your number B. Number A is the total number of rows you will do for the cuff. Number B is the total number of rows you will do for the full length of the sock. Alright, now, going off of my example, 2 strands of Elise yarn and 3/8 inch gauge is approximately 4.75 stitches per inch as your average, and I'm going to round that up to 5 stitches per inch. Okay, because that's my not stretched, and then I added it, divided by 2, that's my average, and that's what I work with. Okay, and if you want to get the better understanding of this, I do have a video that shows how to get your measurements for socks and everything. Okay, and then my rows per inch is 10. Okay, see if I can't get it. There it goes. Rows per inch 10. So I have 5 stitches per inch times 9, which is my ball measurement, equals 45. I'm going to round it down to 44, because that's the next peg, and I would like to work circularly on this one. Trying to get it to focus. 44 pegs. Okay. Then I have see if I can get it to focus, sorry. Then I have 10 rows per inch times 6.5, which is my measurement for my cuff, and that's 65 rows. And then I have, due to a calculation error, I'm going in and re-explaining my example. And so instead of it being 12.5, it's actually going to be 10 inches for my length. Alright, so 10, which is rows per inch, times 10, which is my length, equals 100 rows. So I'm going to be doing 100 rows in Stockinette. Alright, and so we'll get started from there. I have done already an E-wrap cast on. If you want to know what an E-wrap cast on is, I will kind of show you. It's where you take your working yarn and you're going to take and wrap it from behind, front, and back all the way around. Okay, and you're just going to do that all the way around. You're going to E-wrap it all the way around, and that's your cast on. Now, after you E-wrap it all the way around, you're going to keep going, but what you're going to do is you're going to start your rib stitch. Alright, and my rib stitch is going to be a 2x2 because I'm working on a 44 peg loom. A 4 a 4-stitch set works great. Now you've got to figure out what your set works in. So if your total is going to be 2 stitches or 4 stitches or even 6 stitches, which I've done 3 by 3, or you can do a 3 by 2, which is where you knit 3, purl 2. You want to divide the loom into either 5, 4, or 6, even 2, to see what works. And so 4 works, so I'm going to do a knit 2, purl 2, and that's just a quick guide on how you can figure out how to do your rib stitching. Alright, so I'm going to knit 2, 1, 2, and then I'm going to purl 2, 1, and 2. Then I'm going to knit 2, 1, 2, and then I'm going to purl 2, and you're going to continue this all the way around, and then you're going to do this for whatever your number A row is. Okay, for me, I'm going to be doing 65 rows of rib stitch, which is what I'm doing right now, and that is the knit 2, purl 2 on a 44 peg loom. Alright, so I'm going to tell you to go ahead and pause the video and get your however many 8 rows of rib stitch. If you're following along with me, because your measurements end up the same, you're going to be doing 65 rows. Now you can do this with a 40 peg loom, and you can do the 2 by 2, and that'll fit for a little bit smaller. And if you end up doing 60 rows instead, but you'll definitely need to get your measurement and that kind of thing. But that is how we're going to start out. So go ahead and pause the video, get your number of rows done for your cuff, then we'll come back. I'll show you where we need to go there. It's going to be stockinette stitch, which is entirely knit, and how many rows you need to do for that. Then I'll show you how to do a finish. And what I'm going to show you is, instead of doing a drawstring, just a standard drawstring, I'm going to show you a technique called the fine gauge drawstring bind off that I do normally for hats. Well, you can do it for toes, and you have a nice smooth toe so that you're not going to feel a lot of that gathering at the toe. It should be very nice and smooth, okay? And so that's kind of the plan for this particular pattern. So go ahead and do your cuff, which is knit 2, purl 2 for 65 rows if you're making it like me. If not, follow your formula and go from there. Okay, I have just completed my rows, and I am ready to start doing my stockinette / my length. And remember, that was 10. Length is 10 times 10, so rows per inch was 10, and my length was 10 inches, which is 100 rows, which is number B, so we'll be doing 100 rows of stockinette stitch. And what that means is we're just going to sit here and we're going to just straight out knit, flat knit for 100 rows. So you're just going to knit around, just knit, knit, knit for 100 rows. And if you get your speed up, you should be able to get these 100 rows done fairly fast without any breaks. So you might can get almost about 60 rows done in an hour. So if you do, 2 hours and you're working straight and you're not doing a whole lot of pausing between your rows, you'd probably be able to get your rows done in about 2 hours. The rib stitching takes a lot longer. So that's where you go in and you do your rows per inch, and you times it by your length of your foot that you need, and that'll give you however many rows of knit you need to do. So go ahead and pause the video and do your number B, your length of stockinette, and then when we come back, we will go in and I will show you how to do a nice toe finish so that it's nice and smooth, because we're working on a small gauge and you don't want a bulky toe. So you've worked all these rows and you want to have something that's nice, clean, and neat rather than just a regular drawstring bind off. I'm going to show you a drawstring bind off that is smooths it out and has a really nice, clean look about it, which is my fine gauge drawstring bind off. And so go ahead, pause the video, get the length of your foot done, and then we will go in and do our fine gauge drawstring bind off in sock form, and then we will be done. So just get the length of your foot done and we'll be going from there. So you can either do this calculation, but now I tell you what, I tried this on and I normally don't like tube socks, but this fits really nicely, and I have a feeling it's due to the actual yarn and the perfect calculation for fitting around the foot. It actually fits really good for a tube sock. So let's see if we can't finish this sock up beautifully and get our fine gauge drawstring toe done. Alright, so here's what we want to do. We want to knit pegs 1 and 2, take that second stitch back, toss the bottom loop over, and then move it over 1, and then knit 2. And then you're going to knit 1, 2, take that stitch back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over 1. Then knit 2. This is your repeat. So knit 2, take that stitch back, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over by 1, and knit 2. You're going to do this all the way around. And so you'll have every fourth peg empty, basically. Okay, we've made it all the way around, and you should have every fourth peg empty. Now what you want to do is you want to slip behind your empty peg and you want to knit. And you slip behind the empty peg and then you knit. And you're going to do this for 2 rows where you slip behind the empty peg and you knit. Here's our second row. Okay, so we've done our decrease and we've done 2 rows. Now we want to do another set of decrease. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to knit 3, then you want to take that last stitch back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over 1. Take it around the back of that empty peg. You're going to knit 3, take that last stitch back 1 peg, toss the bottom loop over, and move it forward. Slip behind that empty peg, knit 3. Take that last stitch, take it back 1, toss the bottom loop over, and move it over 1, and slip behind the empty peg. You're going to do this all the way around until every other peg is going to be empty. Okay, at this point we're going to be knitting 2 rows again, but we're slipping behind the empty pegs. So slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit. You're going to do that all the way around, and you're going to do that for 2 rows. Okay, now we're going to start on our second row. Okay, and here is where you're going to want to cut a tail and be ready to drawstring bind off. Okay, alright, we're ready to, I've cut me a tail and we're ready to go ahead and bind off. So I'm going to go and I'm actually going to skip that first peg right there with the stitch on it, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to knit over and pull my tail through. Okay, I'm going to skip the next stitch, move over to the next one, knit over and pull my tail through. Skip that next stitch, knit this one over, pull the tail through, skip this stitch, go to the next stitch, toss bottom loop over, and pull your tail through. Skip, go to the next peg, drawstring through, skip, go to the next peg, toss bottom loop over, and drawstring through, skip, go to the next peg, and pull the tail through, skip, go to the next peg, pull the tail through, skip, go to the next peg, pull the tail through, skip, go to the next peg, pull the tail through, and skip, go to the next peg, pull the tail through. Because I want a really distinctive line where to pull, I'm actually going to skip this peg again, and this gives me the guide that this is my outer loop here. Alright, so I'm going to skip that one, and I'm going to come to this next one, toss the bottom loop over, and pull through. And you're going to go in and you're going to get all the last of your stitches off the loom by going in and drawstringing. Last one. Alright, pull through. Okay. Get that over to the side now. What you are looking for, and there's your last one. This is your, you're looking for your longer one, and that's going to be it right here. And what you are wanting to do is you're wanting to pull that inner section in first. Alright. Then what you're wanting to do is pull the last tail through. Okay, and then you just pull on your drawstring, and there you have a beautiful, clean, smooth tip. There is your sock. Now at this point you're going to send your tail through and you're going to weave it in, and then you're going to weave in your tips. Alright, now I'm going to show you what this did. As you can see, it does a nice, beautiful, clean closure to a really smooth sock. Alright, and that is how you go about making a tube sock. Actually pretty easy.